The Equality Act came into force on the 1st of October 2010. It replaced a number of anti-discrimination laws, creating a single act. This has helped to simplify the understanding of the laws regarding the protection of certain sectors of society. The Act forms protection for age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage or civil partnership, race, religion or belief, sex, sexual orientation, and pregnancy. The Act is split into 4 categories: victimisation, harassment, direct discrimination, and indirect discrimination. BS 8300 is a British standard that sets out how buildings should be designed, constructed, and maintained to create an accessible and inclusive environment for disabled people. Approved document Part M works in tandem with BS 8300 to give practical guidance on its requirements and how they can be incorporated into the built environment. Part M of the building regulations require that people, regardless of disability, age or gender, are able to gain access to buildings and use their facilities both as visitors and people who live or work in them. The information supplied in this video is focused on gaining access to new build dwellings, and its intention is to provide you with guidance on how to achieve compliance with the functional requirements. M4 states that reasonable provision should be made for people to gain access to and use the dwelling and its facilities. It does not apply to an extension to a dwelling or any part of a building that is used solely to enable the building or any service or fitting in the building to be inspected, repaired or maintained. When considering the access to buildings, it's important to start with the approach. So what's included in the approach? For dwelling houses within the curtilage of the plot, it should be possible for most people, including wheelchair users, to approach and gain access to the dwelling from the most likely point of alighting from a car. For buildings containing dwellings such as blocks of flats, the same conditions as above apply, but the approach needs to include the external approach to the communal entrance of the building and the internal approach to the ground floor flats. In addition, provision should be made for a disabled person that is able to walk to visit any dwelling within the building. The approach to the building starts at the point of access. The point of access is the location that the person will either enter the plot from a footpath or the point that they will alight from their vehicle. It's the responsibility of the builder to inform us, the building control body, where the point of access will be. The approach from that point to the principal entrance point then needs to comply. When it's a driveway that provides the means of approach to a dwelling, you need to ensure that you leave a clear access way with a minimum of 900 mm wide. This enables the person to alight from their vehicle and to approach the principal entrance. Individual ramp flights for gradients up to 1 in 12. The maximum length is 5 meters. For gradients up to 1 in 15, the maximum length is 10 meters. 1200 mm landings are required at the top and the bottom. It's acceptable to use a footpath as a landing as long as it's long enough and level. For a stepped approach, where the plot gradient is steeply sloping, greater than 1 in 15, a stepped approach is acceptable. For the stepped approach design, you must ensure that an unobstructed clear width of 900 mm is provided. The rise of the flights between the landings should also be no greater than 1.8 meters, and the top, bottom and intermediate landings should be a minimum of 900 mm long. As previously mentioned, the bottom landing can form part of a public footpath provided there are no obstructions, and remember, it needs to be level. Every flight with 3 or more risers would require a suitable handrail to one side. The handrail needs to be between 850 and 1000 millimeters above the pitch level of the flight and needs to extend a minimum of 300 millimeters beyond the top and the bottom nosing. If the steps or ramp are less than 1 meter wide, you will require one. If it's greater, then you'll need both sides. Communal entrances. The principal communal entrance door of the building containing the dwelling should comply with the following. The door needs to have a minimum clear opening width of 775 millimeters when measured in accordance with the diagram below. As you can see, handles and other door furniture can be excluded when measuring this width. Any threshold needs to be an accessible threshold, and the ground surface or entrance flooring needs to not impede wheelchairs.